Earlier this year, I released a 2-song drum and bass EP called Jupiter Pulse. And on the second song, aptly named Jupiter Pulse, I used the theme running throughout the whole thing was actually a preset from G-Force's OB-X. The preset's called All the Ravers, and it just has this really beautiful sound that kind of reminds me of early days of electronic music. So I wanted to show you how I take sometimes, instead of building sounds from scratch, I will take a preset sound that I like and how I put it into a song and how I use my effects chain to really make it so that it stands out and also blends in with the rest of the music. So this particular preset here, one of the things I really like about how they set this up is these 4 macros do a really nice job of being able to either assign parameters to it or use the pre-assigned parameters, but to be able to use those to manipulate the sound throughout the song. So this particular sound, the bass of it being like this, inside Logic what I'm doing is I'm running it through a group here, the supermassive reverb that's here, that's being used, and also has been, I use it sparingly because it can get muddy, but this is the reverb I used for the sound throughout to kind of bring out some of the parts. And then for the group itself, first thing I do is gain stage it. So in this case, I'm bringing it back down 12 dB, which obviously brings it down quite a bit. From here on out, the next one I have is I'm just using Ozone to the imager to expand the sound. After that, I'm using Artoria's Bus Force to give it a little bit of parallel compression. And then in addition to that, I still have Logic compressor. And then I've got Kickstart for sidechaining. And then the one after that is Intensity to give it a little bit more warmth in the mid-high ends and a little bit more presence as well. And now from there, I'm using Smart EQ to allow it to blend in better with some of the other parts, and also cuts out some of the low end. And then from there, the last one on this chain is using Spectre to just bring out a little bit of the higher frequencies, the transients and the higher frequencies to clarify the sound. All these things on their own may not seem like they're making a big difference, but as it goes, as it gets mixed with everything else, it does make a big difference. Some of these things, a lot of times creating the chain is what takes me the longest amount of time, and automating them to really get what I want. So in this case, you'll see here like some of the macros are moving, the filter frequency, even some of the volumes are being changed. And then also here where I'm using Supermassive, it's only being used in the big transition parts so they make them sound bigger, and also so that they're not clashing with any of the drum parts or anything like that. And so all in all together, it sounds like this throughout the start of the song. A lot of times also with these, this particular one, really I just kept the verses simple because of how big that sound is. In addition to that, what I'll often do is I'll create a customized drum kit inside Logic's drum machine designer, and put in my own samples, and then be able to then program them in. As you can see here at the beginning part, it's kept pretty simple, but just to give you another example of the part, so here for this big riser at the end, really utilizing automation to bring in some of that supermassive and to give it a bigger sound before it goes into the final chorus. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this. Just little snippets into some of my workflow production and in terms of how I simplify some of these sounds, but with a lot of automation, be able to really make them blend in. And even with something like this, there isn't a whole lot happening. I have a lot of songs where there's just hundreds of parts happening at the same time. But for this one, really, this synth sound is so big that it's kind of covering most of the ground. And then in addition to that, I'm just adding a sub to really fill in the lower end. To be able to get this fat sound at the end.